Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Best Bedpost Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Erin Pym. Here at the Bedpost Podcast, what I like to do is bring guests and performers from my Bedpost stage here that I do here in Toronto and beyond into the studio to have a more in-depth conversation about sex and sexuality with me. This week, I truly have a Jill of all trades as far as the world of sex and sexuality goes. She is a rapper. She is a vlogger. She's a sexpert. Everything.
I try.
She truly does it all. So please welcome to the mic, Allizae.
Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm a familiar face. If I'm not in your sexuality world, follow me. Allizae Raps, Allizae Raps.
Totally. And we will give all your info as to where people can find you and follow you again at the end of the podcast. Nice. But for now, why don't you tell people who aren't aware of who you are exactly when I say she does everything, what exactly do we mean by that?
Well, I'm on various networks. I'm on Pornhub. Mm-hmm. I'm on YouTube. So I stay on the underground market just as much as the mainstream. So I like to kind of dibble and dabble into sexuality firsthand. On YouTube, I'm very vocal. I'm also very visual. I do a lot of tutorials. I've actually had a video that made it on worldstarhiphop.com.
Which is a big deal. I wouldn't know, but that's a huge deal, right?
In the hip hop community and just like in anything, I mean, just getting that real exposure worldwide, I guess internationally I could say, because everybody really frequents World Star Hip Hop for entertainment and news and stuff like that. So to get on there for a tutorial on how to give oral sex, the video has a bit more of a vulgar title, but how to give oral sex really good. I provided some tips. I do a lot of things like that. So how to ride, how to give a great hand job. I even did how to lick butt crack creatively with some props. And I mean, really, it's just giving people and beginners especially an introduction into sexuality and letting people feel comfortable and looking at it through a fun lens and not just, very academic or very structured where people feel intimidated. And I think, growing up myself, I never really had somebody hold my hand or really engage with me on the right things or, sexploration, so to speak. Venues and stuff like that. So for me, I'm also kind of giving back to the community by becoming a little bit of a journalist or explorer, tapping into, entrepreneurs in the city, podcasts, for instance, different networks and platforms that give that space to people that represent the sex positive community, which is something I'm a big advocate for. And I want people to just have a firsthand lens at, okay, this is how I kind of see the world, but getting them to also see it as open-minded as I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's I mean, similarly, what I like to do with my stage show, particularly, I go at it from an edutainment kind of a...
That's the word right there.
Yeah. So it's presentational and super fun and silly and entertaining. And then I like to... Why I kind of started this podcast was okay, well, let's get these people that did these fun, silly edutainment type sets in the studio to have okay, well, let's really talk. Let's break it down, because I feel like that's an entry point for people, comedy and fun is very accessible for people, and then once you get them in, you can okay, let's talk about some real shit now, you know what I mean?
No, for sure. And people gravitate to the real and the raw. They like that. Being too filtered, I think, can kind of downplay what the message that you're really trying to explore is. And just even when you're trying to showcase it to people, watching something on TV or watching something where you're constantly filtered on these networks we use, I'm on Instagram right now, but there's only so much I can do before I get flagged.
Instagram? How many posts have you had taken down?
I've had a few, but because I'm so rehearsed in it, all my posts.
Okay, now you know.
I'm good. Yeah. Unless
yeah.
somebody's being really malicious. But I mean, I have a bigger issue with YouTube. A lot of my videos, tutorials, and content, it's appropriate to be on YouTube. But the thing is, it becomes age restricted, and then it becomes a whole monetization issue where, I can't really make money or ads on it. But then you think about the sex community or sex positive community. We have adult sex toy stores. How could there be no ads for the types of videos that we're producing?
Yeah.
To even sponsor it or help us out. I just think it's strange that there's just so much bias with YouTube about content. They gravitate to family and kids shows and or just entertainment that caters to different audiences that are not as like niche as like what I would kind of do.
Yeah, I think the thing is that they're trying to appeal to the most conservative types of audiences. Like same thing with Facebook and Instagram right now. Like they just, rather than having, you know, women have a voice sexually, they're way more concerned about how that will make conservative people feel.
But like, people love it, and this is why I think we do what we do, because even though like from a society standpoint, like it's maybe repressed or it's shunned upon, it's like
for sure.
people, you know, might be in their day jobs, for instance, you know, saying no, we don't support this or we don't like that, but then, you know, going on their internet web browsers, they're searching for this stuff, you know, they're craving it, and this is why like I continue to have that push to not be, you know, deterred by, you know, the barriers that come up, but finding other channels. And I think that's why I use like Pornhub, for instance. It's a little bit more, well, not a little, it's a lot more free. You could post like anything on there, as long as it's not like you know, aggravating like somebody's like regular state of mind. Like you're not trying to do something like a hate crime, or you're not trying to be like racially, you know what I mean, like things like that. So I try to keep it as clean as possible. Yeah.
So on your, when you post stuff on Pornhub, is that going to be generally the same stuff that we see on YouTube, or do you get into it?
I've only recently started cross marketing by putting like some of the tutorials on there. But I mean, with Pornhub, it's more of like explicit content. It's more like live, you know, demonstrations with maybe like a real person versus like a toy, because YouTube won't really allow you to, you know, perform oral on like a real person, you know, even if there is protection, right?
Yes.
I don't see that happening on YouTube. But
Pornhub, that's amazing though. I would love to see that.
I
would love, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, that is a great education tool.
But that's the thing, like doing it on a you know, a toy, for instance, is a great, you know, tutorial guide on what it is, but then seeing it on somebody live, where you're hearing the engagement, you're seeing like the actions, you're seeing like, you
communication,
exactly,
like give and take.
And that's what I try to do. I try to showcase, you know, the best of the realness of what I do, and what I like to, you know, showcase to people is that I get in there firsthand and I'm actually doing these live.
I love that because like traditional porn is a terrible educational tool. Like
it's exaggerated, but I think that when you are searching in porn, it gives you insight to like what you can look forward to. So I mean, if somebody's curious into like BDSM, or they're curious into feet fetishes, which is something I cater to as well.
Yeah, for fetishes.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily into it, but I have the magical feet.
Yeah, you got the feet though. You got some feet though. Yep.
Exactly. So if people want to see what these things are about, they can just clearly go into, you know, porn sites and search. And I like that people can find the different categories and watch. And the whole thing is that when it comes to edutainment, it's not just being, you know, sexually motivated to just want to just see it done by somebody else. It's making it possible for you to feel confident that you might be able to try it or experience it or feel or understand what somebody might feel when they actually are into something like feet fetishes, why they want to be a slave, why they want to be, you know, stepped on, why they want to, you know, suck feet or whatever. Like it's suck toes, sorry. Like just there's different things that
I've had my entire foot sucked.
Me too. High five. It's beautiful.
You don't have to just do the toe.
No, but that's the thing. People don't understand what it's about. It's the palm of your feet. It's, you know, the arch. It's everything. And it's, you know, you have to be knowledgeable about these things in order to be a part of it, because it's all about consent. And, you know, people have to know like the different role plays that are involved in these things and kind of like the rules. So that
you got to know the basics
and have somebody that's actually understanding of what it is. Because even if I provide like, you know, feet fetishes, right? Like
a foot fetish video,
the person that would be involved in that would have to understand what it means to be like a foot slave, or to know what feet domination is about, and they'd have to embrace it and love it and want to do that with somebody like me. It couldn't just be a regular person who's not even a part of that community to even like it, to say, okay, let's try this, you know what I mean?
Because you would be like, no,
it would be awkward and they wouldn't understand it, and then it would become like
you'll be a terrible sub.
Exactly.
If you have never even like looked at subdom porn or read any literature or talk to anyone that's actually in the culture, and just jump in and be like, sure, with like a professional person, like
it's awkward.
It will be terrible. Like that you will get your ass beat by whatever dom.
And that's anything with sexuality and sexual acts. Like you have to kind of understand who you're participating with to understand that
the
role
context of who you're with. Yeah. And I feel like, I think when I'm talking about porn being a terrible education tool, I think I'm talking about like the traditional type of porn that we see that's through a male lens, that's
the male gaze, which is
yeah,
always the case unless you
Yes.
try to dictate it yourself, which is what I try to do.
exactly.
When
yeah.
it comes to talking about sex or even just displaying it, it's like, I'm also a feminist, so for me
Yes.
it's like, as much as I'm engaged in, you know, sexuality, like even in my, you know, Pornhub, it's not the traditional sex where it's just I'm getting pounded and everybody's seeing everything.
Yeah, that male lens porn
Exactly.
that we traditionally see.
I cater to like fetish requests and
Great.
fetishes and stuff. So people might, you know, have interest in other areas of sexuality, which is not just typical penetration. And, you know, they
Because
gravitate.
that's not it for most people. That's not going to do it.
Exactly.
For most females. So like, you know, like it's nice once in a while. But if for people to see that so commonly in porn, it looks like that's the thing, the only thing, and it's not.
It's not. And that's why we do different aspects of it. And for me, I'm in a comfort zone where in my videos, you'll see like maybe twerking, dancing,
Yes!
seduction, sensuality, and sexuality. Whereas porn is mostly like, depending on which genre, it's heavily, you know, hypersexual, and it's mostly like, more focusing on just the penetration aspect and stuff like that, or anal, which is a big one, right?
Yes.
I mean, like these are the main two that I see happening. So.
Yeah, hardcore like vaginal penetration or hardcore anal penetration. Yeah, basically,
Exactly. And
that's what we see.
people will see it and think that it's just easy, like, okay, let's just do this. And the thing, especially with like anal, it's like, no, you do not just go in there
no.
and just think you're like, you know, exercised and well stretched. It doesn't work like that, right?
No.
And this is why like I even provided tutorials on my channel to like kind of get like a kit on how to prepare for those types of things. And everything, like I said, is for a beginner's perspective to just, even if you're considering it, go to a sex store and talk about
to
it.
People, yeah.
Ask questions.
Love that.
Watch tutorials and like,
honestly, I work in sex toy retail. I love when people just come in just to like use me as an information type resource. It's not my store. I don't care if you buy shit.
Yeah.
Like, but like to come in and like ask and be like, what do I need to know about like first time anal stuff? And I'm like, first of all, you got an hour, like, because like what I tell people that I think most people don't even realize, and I feel like the porn might be the culprit on this, is that the end game of anal doesn't have to be anal penetration with a penis into a butt.
You could be fingers, it could be additional toys, it could be different forms of stimulation. And that's what I'm saying, fetishes is what people should look at as a number one to see what they're into.
It's
versus
more about the pleasure. Like focus on the pleasure aspect, not the fact that you need to be
looks so good.
pounded in the ass, and you've seen that in porn, and you think that's what you have to do. Like you never have to do that. You can do so many anal pleasure type things and never have a penis in your butt ever.
Exactly.